The Sony XB33s are speakers I've fallen in love with over the past 2 years, and they're even better together. But just how good are they, and why? In this video I hope to answer all your questions about the speaker, and more. To jump straight into it, the Sony XB33 has two front-firing 48mm by 70mm X-balanced driver units, according to Sony's marketing, but we'll see how they actually sound in a minute here. Backing up those drivers are two exposed side-firing passive radiators. The speaker weighs in at 2.5 pounds and stands 9.7 centimeters tall and 25 centimeters wide. For controls, the speaker has all the usual that you'd expect, track and volume controls, but also in the back of the speaker there's 3 buttons, one for pairing the speaker to another of its kind for stereo audio, another for pairing it with other Sony speakers, and finally a button to check the battery level, which doubles for toggling the lights on and off. As for battery life, the XB33 can play for 7 hours at max volume, although it is worthy to note that max volume on the speaker when it's at 20% battery is noticeably quieter than max volume when the speaker is fresh off the charger. I personally don't notice this or mind too much, but if you like blasting music at Karen calling volumes, this might matter to you. Now then, audio quality is almost entirely subjective to most people, but I'll try to describe the audio quality that I perceive from this speaker. The XB33 has a warm sound signature, so it's anything but flat, yet it still manages to make most music sound great. It doesn't have any obnoxious peaks in its frequency response, and it doesn't distort at normal listening volumes. However, above 80% volume, I do notice distortion on this speaker. It can sound harsh to listen to on its own. Weirdly enough though, if you pair two of them together, that distortion almost entirely disappears. The two 15-watt drivers in the XB33 may not be industry leading, but they do get quite loud while managing to maintain an acceptable bass response. The speaker has 3 sound modes: extra bass, which is a default, live sound mode, which as best I can tell is meant for acoustic tracks and live performances, and finally there's stamina mode. Stamina mode will make your music sound flat, and the mode really cripples the speaker's potential, but when you're listening to podcasts, or maybe even watching a movie, stamina mode can make the audio sound less overwhelmingly boomy or deep. Extra bass mode is the default mode, and does what you'd expect. The speaker has a pretty balanced output in this mode, although it can exaggerate the low end at times depending on your volume level. Finally, there's live sound mode. Live sound mode raises the mids and highs, as well as applying stereo processing to your music. It's honestly not worth using if you have just one speaker, but two XB33s in a stereo pair do make the mode worth using if you're listening to acoustic, live, or otherwise laid-back tracks. It makes acoustic instruments sound better, but can make electronic ones sound harsh and sometimes inaccurate. I definitely don't condone buying a speaker just for the light feature, but I'll let you watch the lights and you decide if they're cool. Side note, the lights are all but invisible in daylight, but are pretty visible indoors. Now, let's talk about how well these speakers pair with each other. Stereo pairing is probably the simplest among Sony's speaker pairing protocols. So to turn on both speakers, and then open the flaps at the back, and on each of them, there is a stereo pair button, and that's also the Party Connect button there, and battery level checker right here, and it'll tell you if you press the button
Battery fully charged.
So to pair them together, you just have to press this button on this speaker and the light will turn on and flash. And then press it on the other speaker. And then you can see the Bluetooth indicator light is off,
Left. Right.
which means that these speakers are now paired. And they will tell you which channel they are. So this one just said that it was left, which means that you'd put this one on the left side and this one would go on the right side. Now, let's see how quick it is to pair multiple different speakers together. So as before, we'll turn on all three speakers. 3 this time instead of the 2. And the big one, the XB500, will make a sound when you turn it on. And then, the back hatch, you can see that there is a Party Connect button. And all you gotta do is press that, it'll make a sound. Open the flaps on these speakers and press the middle button. And then these speakers should now be paired. You can tell by the indicator lights being off on these two speakers that they're paired to the XG500. And now, if I take a phone and I pair to the speaker,
Bluetooth connected.
then when I play music, it'll play on all the speakers. And if you press the volume buttons on this speaker, it'll control the volume for all 3 speakers. But the 2 speakers that aren't the host of the Party Connect, you can change the volume on those separately, which is useful if the baseline volume level makes this speaker unbalanced to these 2, which by default it will be. And also, if you go into the Music Center app, you have 3 options for illumination in this mode. You can go circle, and then it should do separately. Then you also have the option of random, at which point the speakers will act like they're just one speaker and play. Personally, I like to use circle. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you learned something, and I hope I could help you make a purchase decision. If you have any further questions, you can post them in the comments below, and I'll try my best to answer every single one of them to the best of my abilities.
Just feed the beast and you'll see. Wait for me. I don't have time inside my reality. Wait for me. I don't have time to remember me.
Wait for me. Oh shoot, it's still recording.